Good morning everyone. This is Brigadier Amar Narayan from Trishul Defence Academy, Ranchi. Now today I shall be talking in detail about the screening process, which is the day one activity of SSB. Lot of demand has come to me to explain what happens in the screening, how should we prepare for the screening, and to give some tips to candidates so that they can do well in the screening. Now, as all of you are aware, SSB is a 5-day process wherein 3 different assessors, they assess the personality of the candidate in detail. There is a psychologist who assesses the psychological aspect of the personality. There is a group testing officer who sees how a candidate behaves in a group. And finally, there is a interviewing officer, a colonel or a brigadier, who will be interviewing the candidate in detail. But candidates, before you can actually go for this entire detailed analysis and SSB procedure, you have to clear the very first big hurdle, which is the screening on day 1. And as you are aware, this is a very important and difficult process because a large number of the candidates, they get screened up, especially the entries where we do not have a written exam like the TES entry or the graduate technical entry for engineers. Large number of candidates are called to the SSB, maybe to the tune of about 300, whereas the capacity to retain for one board is just about 30 to maximum 40. There is no way that a board will be able to retain more than 40. So you see how important and challenging this aspect is. See, out of 300, only about 30 will get screened in, and balance will have to unfortunately go back from the SSB on day 1 itself. So the ratio is just about 1 in 10. So it is very important for you candidates to understand what happens in this screening, how to prepare for this screening, and how to do well in this screening. So today I shall be talking in detail about this screening. So let's start. Now screening, gentlemen, is basically a 2 process. The first one is a intelligence test, which is officially called as the Officer Intelligence Rating or the YR test. 2 sets of tests will be given to you. Each will be for about 30 minutes. And there would be anything from 50 to 60 or 70 questions. Having finished both the tests, that is, having finished the OIR, I will be talking in detail subsequently on the OIR. Then you will undergo the second test, which is the PPDT test or Picture Perception and Discussion test. Now this is again a very important test, and I will separately make a detailed video on the PPDT. But today also I will cover the PPDT in brief. So now let's understand both these aspects of screening. So as I said, first you will have the Officer Intelligence Rating test. So 2 test paper will be given. Each will have 50 to about 70 questions. Now the questions will have a mix of verbal questions and non-verbal questions. I am very sure you understand that the verbal questions will be based on either words or numericals or figures, whereas the non-verbal questions will be based basically on figures. So the OIR test consists of 2 types of tests. There will be many questions which are verbal in nature, and there will be many questions which are non-verbal in nature. So as you can make out, the verbal questions will have questions based on words or numbers, whereas the non-verbal questions will have questions which are based on figures. Now, the important thing to understand in this OIR is that you must complete the entire questions in the given time. So don't waste too much of a time on a question in which you are getting stuck. If you feel that more time is being taken in a question, leave that and go ahead. And if you finish all the questions and there is still some time back, you can come back and solve that question. So that is one important tip. A second important tip I would like to give you is that there is no negative marking unlike say the UPSC written exam of NDA. Now this is a very important thing to keep in mind. Since there is no negative marking, if a question is there where you have a doubt that possibly one or two both could be correct, then you can take a chance and take the best guess, because if you go wrong, the worst case scenario will get 0 marks. Since there is no negative marking, so make an attempt and try to answer all questions which you can answer. Now let's try to understand some types of questions which can be asked in this YR test. Now candidates, this is very normal questions which are easily available on the net if you Google intelligence test. So there are similar types of tests. So let's first talk about the verbal test. So in verbal test, you can have questions based on synonyms or antonyms or filling the blanks, or there could be a question on missing word in a sentence, or there could be question on odd man out. So these are all easy questions. Just apply your mind and you will be able to solve the questions. Also there could be a question on relation of word pair. For example, bird is to fly as horse is to dash. So here the correct answer will be gallop. Then there could be question on coding and decoding. There could be a question on series. For example, 1, 3, 9 and then dash. So you can make out that the fourth would be it is a square which is going. Fourth would be 4 into a square, that is 60. Then there could be question on sense of direction. For example, they may tell you someone has gone so many kilometers east, then north, then again east, and then where is he from the starting point. So similar questions can be asked to you. Read the question, don't be in a hurry to answer, and then answer in a normal fashion. You will be able to do very well in this. Now coming to some examples of the non-verbal questions. So again, there could be a question on series, like there may be a series of figures and then we have to look for what will be in the gap or the last figure. Then there could be question on missing part of a figure. They may give you a series of figures and then they may ask you as to what could be the missing part. There could be a question on embedded figure. They may show you a series of figures and they may show a question which is an embedded part of the questions which are there in this series. So you have to look what can be the embedded part in that series. So that's how candidates, you will have the OIR test. Once both the tests are finished, your paper will be taken of course and they will be evaluated. Just to tell you as to how the OIR is marked. Now very frankly you did not know it, but this query comes to me very often. लोग मुझसे बार बार पूछते हैं कि OIR की मार्किंग क्या होती है. Sometime I get a question कि OIR और PPDT में कौन सा important है, which is more important. So I must tell you both are equally important. If your OIR is not very good and if you do very well in the PPDT, your chances of selection may not be very bright, and vice versa. So it is very important to practice for both and do well in both. So as I was telling you, lot of queries keep coming to me how the evaluation of OIR is done. So the marking will be done, and after that all the candidates will be grouped into 5 heads. That is OIR 1 is the best, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So generally you can understand that 1 has got very high marks and 1 is basically outstanding. Then 2 is very good, 3 is good, 4 is average and 5 is below average. So just to give you the idea of the way the people who get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will finally get selected is that 1, 2 and 3 have got a very fair, good chance of getting selected if you also do well in the PPDT. 4 and 5 have got very frankly very little chance of doing well in the screening. So candidates do focus on the OIR also and keep practicing. We have got enough sets with us in the app. Once you download the Trishul Defence Academy app for practice of OIR. So practice on a daily basis and I am very sure you will be able to do very well. Okay, so having understood about the OIR, let's talk about the second portion of the screening, which is the PPDT test. That is the picture perception and discussion test. Now this is again a very important test, and frankly this test itself is comprising of 3 tests, I can say, 3 mini tests. So they will be showing you a picture, basically a black and white picture. This will have few personalities. It could be a male or a female or a child. So it could be one person, it could be a group of persons. And then you have to see the picture in detail. Amongst the persons or personalities that you see in the picture, quickly select one of them as the main character, what you can also call as a hero of the story. And then based on the pictures that you see, on the background, the character, the actions which you visualize, you have to make a story. And that story ideally should be a good, positive story. The hero of the story should end up doing something good as a good citizen of India, which means either he does good for his friend or his family or his community in general. For example, if you see a situation or a picture where say 5 friends are sitting in a park on the ground. Now there could be one candidate, he says that Ram along with his 4 friends, they are sitting in a ground in a park. Ram has come back after a long time from a place where he was studying. Now he is having good time with his friends and they had a lovely time in the evening, they enjoyed the evening and they had a memorable time. Now candidates, this is not a very good story because the main character hasn't actually done something very very noble, something very good. Whereas suppose you have just described the story. Whereas suppose there is another candidate who says that Ram, who came to his hometown after 1 year, he is sitting with his friends. He was not happy to see the state of hygiene in his village. So he is discussing with his friends and making a plan as to how to improve the hygiene in his place. And they make out a plan of how to convince the elders and other people in the village, and they act on the plan, and after some time their village becomes a model village as far as the hygiene sanitation is concerned. Now here you see that the main character, the actor of the story, he has made a plan which is workable, which is good for the community. So that is what I want to say regarding just description of a picture, which is not a very good thing to do, and a good story wherein the main character has been able to do something positive. Now some tips regarding story writing. I would like to suggest that the picture which is shown for about 30 seconds, see that in detail. Normally people are in a hurry, they see the picture for just few seconds and they are in a hurry to start writing. Don't do that. Please take the entire 30 seconds to see the picture in detail. See how many characters are there, see their mood, see their gender, see their age, because you have to write all this. And then also see the scenario there, the background. Is it a rural background, or is it a urban background? Is it a classroom, or is it a courtroom, or is it a hospital? So whatever it is, sometime in a hurry, people tend to miss out on the background, and then your story will not be related to the picture. That is not a good thing, because then the picture will be, the story which you are writing perhaps may be divorced from the picture which is being shown. So this is very important to see the picture which is there, see the characters, and now in the answer sheet you will have a place where to mark these characters which you see. As you can see in the slide that there is a square marked, there you mark circle for these people that you see, and then mark their age, gender, and their sex. So you see the characters in the picture. Now in the answer sheet, you will have place to write the age, gender, and mode of character. So make a circle for each person that you see. Suppose there are 4 persons that you see in a figure. 2 are elders, say a male and female, and 2 younger children, male and female. So perhaps you assume that the elder ones are the parents, mother and father, and the younger one is a child, maybe 14 years and 10 years. So accordingly, you make circle and write male 40 positive, that is the positive is the mood. Then female 38 positive. Then in the lower 2 circles, you can write about the 2 children, male 14 positive, and F for female say 10 and positive. So you make these 4 circles and write the mood, age and gender for everyone. And then if you want, you can write a small heading for the story and write the story about the characters. And I have already given you that one of them should be the main character or the hero. Ideally, give a name to the main character. For example, in the example I gave you, I said Ram along with his 5 friends are sitting. So here the assessor will know that Ram is the main character. Then you write the story. You get about 4 minutes to write the story. So this is all that I wanted to tell you about writing the story. You repeat, write a positive story which ends in some good activity, something very positive. So in summary, if I may like to give you the tips of writing the PPDT, is that observe the picture carefully, see the characters, see the scenario which is there, then identify the main character among the people that you see in the picture, then write the story based on the main character. The actions should be positive. We should end up doing something good for the cause of the society or his community in general. Be optimistic, be positive in the story. The thing to avoid is that don't just describe the picture as I gave you example earlier. So give a positive twist to the story so that you will end up having a good story in the PPDT. Now once you have finished writing the story, there will be a break, and the second part of this PPDT is the individual narration, which will be followed by a discussion. Now for this, all the candidates will be grouped in a group of 15 to 20. So you will be made to sit in a semicircle fashion, and there will be 3 assessors, 1 GTO, 1 IO, interviewing officer, and 1 psychologist will be sitting in front and assessing each candidate independently. Now in individual narration, starting from left to right as per your chest number, everyone will be given about 1 minute, minimum 45 seconds and maximum about a minute to narrate the story which you have written. Now again, this is important, a part of the screening. Ensure that you give out your story, what you have actually written in the previous portion. You speak clearly, confidently. Ensure that your diction is clear and you are well understood by everyone. You should look at your friends and not at the assessor in front. Give out your story the way you have written, but be brief. At times I have seen candidates, they spend so much of time just describing the character, the mood and the gender that they finish about 20 or 30 seconds. Then there is no time for finishing the story, and the assessor will ask you to sit down without completing the story. So you must practice that you should be able to complete the story in about a minute, maybe in about 50 seconds. So to repeat, be clear, be confident, be concise and loud. You should also be cheerful and look at a confident candidate who is fit to be selected for the balance portion of the SSB. So candidates, now we come to the third portion of the PPDT, which is the discussion. Now again, this is a very important part of the screening. In fact, very frankly, this is the most difficult portion, because till now, whatever you have done, that is the picture writing, the individual narration, and before that the YR test, it was basically without any interference. So you were having enough time to write or do that activity without much interference. But in discussion, there will be 15 to 20 candidates. All of them are trying to get selected there in the SSB. So there will be a lot of competition. So this is a little challenging assignment. So I am preparing you in advance that practice for this. You must give out your mind at least 3 to 4 times in that about 15 odd minutes which you get for discussion. I am again warning you, it's not going to be easy because all of the candidates will be trying to speak. But if you practice well, then it is very much possible to stand out and get selected. Now, the difference between the individual narration and the discussion is that in narration, you have to give out the story which you have written. You cannot deviate from that. Whereas in discussion, aim is to come to a common group story. So here you can discuss anything. You can discuss your story. You can take an idea from a neighboring candidate and take his idea ahead. Or you may not agree with the candidate and talk about that. The aim is that you must come out as a candidate who is able to discuss in a forum. You should be able to take a point of one of the candidates and talk about that. That is one way of speaking out and getting noticed. Or if you don't agree with the candidate, again be polite and perhaps you can say, candidate number 5, you have given a good point, but I have a different point of view. So be polite. You can give a contrary view, but do not argue, do not quarrel, do not raise your voice too much and come out like a candidate who is not very positive, who cannot take different views in a discussion. So if you use these clues of how to take a point from a other candidate, it may be a point which you agree, it may be a point which you do not agree, but give out some good points about their story at least 3 to 4 times in a confident manner. Aim is that among the 15-20 candidates, about 2 to 3 or maybe 4 only will get selected. So you have to make a good impression on the 3 assessors who are sitting in front, that he should tick your name as the candidate who he feels can be selected for the main course of the SSB. So this is the various aspects which I wanted to tell you regarding the discussion. Okay, so I am very sure you candidates must have got a very good idea about how the screening is conducted. In brief, I have told you various tips how to go about and practice for the, you can say, 4 parts of the screening. To start with the officer intelligence test, the OIR rating, then how to write the picture story, then how to go about your individual narration, and finally how to go about discussion. Now candidates, many queries come to me about how important it is to be able to talk in English. कई कैंडिडेट्स होते हैं जो हिंदी में तो अच्छा बात कर सकते हैं लेकिन इंग्लिश उनकी कमज़ोर है. सो मैं ये बताना चाहूँगा कि आपकी अंग्रेजी अच्छी होने से बेहतर है, क्योंकि वहाँ जो डिस्कशन है और वहाँ जो इंटरव्यू में बातचीत होती है उसमें वैसे तो अलाउ करते हैं हिंदी में बात करने के लिए, लेकिन डिस्कशन में ज़्यादा लोग इंग्लिश में बात करेंगे. तो अगर हिंदी में आप बात करेंगे तो आपको थोड़ा हिचकिचाहट होगी और शायद आपका कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल भी कम हो जाए. तो मैं तो यही बताना चाहूँगा कि जो कैंडिडेट्स उनका अदरवाइज प्रिपरेशन अच्छा है और हिंदी में लैग करते हैं, जो इंग्लिश उनकी कमज़ोर है और हिंदी उनका ज़्यादा समझते हैं बेटर है, तो वो इंग्लिश की प्रैक्टिस करें. इम्प्रूव योर कम्युनिकेशन स्किल इन इंग्लिश. It is always better to have a fluent English if you want to do well in the SSB. Now, you may have a lot of queries regarding this video or overall about the interview process in SSB. So, you can always call up at the given number in this app. And candidates, I will suggest to you that you can download this Trishul Defense Academy app. All the details about the online courses which we offer, and also about the offline courses that we have in Trishul Defense Academy. You have the information about that. So download the app and join us in your journey to become a defense officer. All the best to you. Take care. Jai Hind.
अब डिफेंस एग्जाम क्रैक करना हुआ और भी आसान। त्रिशूल डिफेंस एकेडमी लेकर आए हैं बिल्कुल ही एडवांस लर्निंग ऐप। तो आज ही ज्वाइन करें और स्टार्ट करें अपनी ऑनलाइन क्लासेस।